In the creative arts industry, the murder of a project is considered especially heinous. The dedicated detectives who investigate these vicious felonies are members of an elite squad known as the Pitch Bleak Unit. The cases are real. The victims are real. The accent is slipping. This is Pitch Bleak. On today's episode, Andy Matthews was a regular college student who dreamed of something more. When a showbiz legend came calling, it looked like everything was falling into place. But what should have been the next big thing in TV sketch comedy never happened. Who killed Andy's big chance? Who turned his light entertainment dream into a nightmare? It's time to catch a killer on the True Creative Crime podcast, Pitch Bleak.
Right. Interview begins 5:56 p.m. Detectives Hayden Bevis and Chris Kennett in attendance.
Would you state your full name and date of birth for the tape, please?
Date of birth?
What?
Please, this is for the record.
I mean, that seems like it's getting into sort of identity theft territory. Andrew James Matthews, 2nd of the 2nd, 1984. My mother's maiden name was Nichols with 2 C's and 1 L.
It says here you were an electrical engineer?
Yeah, I were.
Were?
I were an electrical engineer.
You became a physics teacher?
Then I became a physics teacher.
And then before landing in the world of comedy? Is that true?
Yeah, well, the physics teaching was a bit sort of parallel to the comedy, but then the comedy, you know, like some sort of terrible disease, overwhelmed and strangled the host profession.
That's quite a leap from physics to comedy. What's the deal?
I think they're both ways of looking at the world and seeking explanations, you know, and taking in data and trying to come up with a model or a theory or a prediction of what's going to come next. The only difference, I think, is that in comedy you're doing it and you're trying to make a bad prediction, basically, or a bad model or a bad explanation of the world. That's what's funny. That's why everyone's laughing now.
Can I break character, Chris, and just say that's a great answer? Is that all right? Can we? All right.
Chris, is he the one who decides who's allowed to break character?
We never quite clarified whether we have to be in character, if there are characters.
To be honest, I think if you're going to have a good cop and a bad cop, I think you need a neutral cop who can resolve these kinds of issues between the two of you.
How would you have stopped what happened then between Chris and I?
As the neutral cop.
Yeah.
As a physicist.
I would have said you don't have to ask him for permission to be yourself.
Oh, yes, he does.
He makes a good point. Yeah, I can see both sides. That's what makes me so neutral and useless.
Now, Andy, back to it. You've been a writer on TV shows such as The Project, Mad as Hell, and The Checkout. That's cool.
Thanks, man. Yeah, no, I've been very fortunate to have a range of... I've worked with most of the biggies in Australian TV comedy, I would say.
In 2015, you played the role of a rabbit named Nimble for a small personal loan company. Is that true?
That is true,
Is this something you're proud of?
I have complicated mixed emotions about my time as a large anthropomorphic rabbit representing a short-term loan company, as one might expect.
9 months ago, you filmed yourself coming up with 400 comedy sketches over a 20-hour period for Two in the Think Tank, your podcast. Is this true?
Yeah, that's another fact.
Okay. Facts are good.
Yes, we can agree. I have a podcast where I come up with sketch ideas with my friend Alastair Tremblay-Birchall, and we come up with usually around 5 or 6 in an episode. But every time we get to we do a 100th episode, so we've done now over 400 episodes.
Yeah.
We do a really long episode where we come up with that number of sketch ideas. So for the 100th episode, we come up with 100, and for the 200th, 200, and for the 300th, 300. To achieve that, you don't get those kinds of numbers without some serious definition of what constitutes a sketch and what constitutes an idea.
Have you ever reduced the definition of a sketch to simply maybe a funny word or sound?
Absolutely, yes.
Right.
Yes, absolutely. No, we one of the sketch ideas was based around the fact that there are so many sounds that haven't yet become words. And why are we going to these crazy, 4, 5, 6 syllable words when there are perfectly good sounds like glaff or plurb that haven't even found a definition yet.
Well, you're in today to talk about another sketch comedy show. Is that right? For TV that went MIA, DOA, other things ending in A.
It was going to be a sketch comedy show. So it was a project that we were putting together with the thought that this was going to get picked up and put on TV. When I was studying to be a physics teacher, so I went back and retrained, really the reason I did it was because I wanted to get into a law review. So I couldn't tell my parents I'm quitting engineering to be a comedian, but I could tell them I'm quitting engineering to go study teaching. And while I was studying teaching, my plan was always to audition for the Law Revue.
Law review. These are technical terms that maybe not everybody's familiar with.
Sure.
Okay, dumb it down for Detective Bevis here. Tell me about a university review, a law review. What is it?
There's a fine tradition of uni comedy reviews. So these are sketch comedy shows that you'd put on, do up, perform in a pub or in a theatre. You write and perform sketches, and this goes all the way back to Oxford, Cambridge reviews, the guys who did Monty Python, Peter Cook. They were part of sketch review groups at university. And, they still go all the way through today. And Australians have picked up on that. And there's most universities would have some kind of review tradition. And very often it's run out of the law department for some reason.
What's the application process to get into the review team?
Well, I did a couple of auditions. I think the first one was improvised. And then the second one I had to bring in some sketches that I'd written. Because I had basically bet my entire life on being able to get into this law review, I really sort of went all out and sort of threw myself around the room and was very physical and outgoing and did big characters and stuff in a way that I'd never done before or since. But it was apparently at least distracting or confusing enough for them to cast me in the review. Yeah, I don't care to think back too closely on what I actually did.
Can we place this in time somewhere? What kind of year are we talking?
Oh,
2009.
were there any, who did you do you remember the names that you did the review with of the people?
Oh, yeah, I remember all the people who were in the review with me. Yeah.
Name them?
Harry Dudley Ward.
Write that down, Chris.
No, that'll
Laura
do. That'll do.
Dunman.
No,
okay,
I don't
right.
need any more.
He'll do.
Yeah, but I would say of that group, I'm probably the one who has pursued the comedy career the most seriously.
I've got to admit, I also had some involvement with review culture.
Really?
Yeah, probably about a decade before the subject here. And I'm curious, Andy, to know, and perhaps this had died out by your time, but back certainly in the 90s and towards the late 90s, there was always this sense, maybe optimism, that this review this year could be the next D-Gen.
Yeah.
It was always being the next D-Generation. And I attended Melbourne University, which is obviously where they originated. So there was this real sense of this huge opportunity here. Of course, it didn't happen.
Yeah.
And hasn't happened since the D-Generation, frankly, in terms of a whole troupe becoming, then moving on
We're
to
all gonna
TV
get
and such.
plucked out of obscurity, and this is going to be it. And and I think I and maybe other people in the review just assumed that, obviously that would happen. Yeah. Why wouldn't that happen? It had happened once before.
Yep. 30 years earlier.
30 years ago. Why wouldn't it happen automatically to me? And once, literally as soon as I got the audition, I think also because I'd done my first undergraduate course and I was older than everybody else in the review. I was the oldest person in there. And I just was sort of hungry, but also aware that I was starting late and I had to make the most of this. So I really threw myself into it with a lot of enthusiasm and productivity and almost no fucking clue what I was doing. Like I remember our first sketch pitching meeting. You're supposed to bring along 3 ideas, right?
Yeah.
And I had fucking pages and pages of ideas. I think I just had so many, and I read them all out. And some people didn't even have any. And
did anybody cry at the end of that? You or others in the group?
I mean, I think they were very polite considering what I was putting in front of them. Yeah. But I was just extremely excited to be doing it.
I'm really sensing a pattern of behavior with you with regards to output.
Yeah, that's my MO.
Some may say, I don't want to say quantity over quality, but quantity's right up there.
Yeah. I mean, quality would have to be working pretty fucking hard to overcome this amount of quantity. Yeah.
So you've put all your eggs in a basket, you've thrown it in, and you've made the Law Revue team. Do you call it a team? What do you call it?
Cast. It's a cast. It's a performance. It's theatre.
It's a show,
cast,
Hayden,
my boy.
The team. I call them teams.
Yeah. Wow.
Hayden, I feel it necessary to say he has a very weird mental block about theatre.
Right.
Oh, fucking hell.
Any kind of theatre. Mm-hmm. If it's live on a stage, he does not understand it. It doesn't make sense to him. What are they doing? He thinks that people are just going insane on a stage. They're all having a mental break.
And he's right. Yes.
Yeah.
He would have loved the 2009 Monash Law Review.
How long was it? How long was the show?
I don't know. It would have been a bit over an hour. Probably.
Bit over an hour.
There was a real tradition at Monash that there would be a dance break in the middle as well. We did a dance every fucking year. They did a dance in the middle of the Law Review. No, but it was good for getting the energy up.
Okay.
And, sometimes you need that. People can't just watch sketches for an hour. They need to be snapped out.
For anyone that's just dozing off.
Yeah, just cleanse the palate and just re-energize them. But it went off. It went off every year. Right. I think we did 3 or 4 shows, and it always did sold out, big laughs. It was really fun. I enjoyed it a lot. We had sketches that I would say are extremely problematic by today's, if not any era's standards. I'll just mention the song called "She's a Dick Tease" that was performed with no hint of irony.
Was that some kind of parody, or was it just
no? No, it was an original number. Quite catchy.
Mm. Did you or anyone else in the show at any stage black up?
No.
Oh,
good. Okay.
Unfortunate. Because that was around 2009, you got to remember, I'm thinking that's around the pivotal Jackson Jive incident, which was a bit of a watershed in Australia, when suddenly we went, actually, maybe that's not okay. And then certain high-profile people continued to do it for several years after that. But most of us sort of thought we probably won't do that anymore.
There's a lot of preamble here.
Yes.
So but I don't understand how we get from Law Review. You didn't destroy Law Review. That's not what we're here to talk about.
No.
How does the Law Review transition into what is the thing that we're talking? What is the entity that?
I think it was 2 years later. I was contacted by some of the people that I'd been in the Law Review with, and they said,
Harry.
It wasn't Harry, actually.
Oh.
No. Well, Ollie. Yeah. And was told some of the other people who'd been in our review, and maybe also the Melbourne review, had been approached by Steve Vizard. Fast Forward fame, and many other things besides. He had been in Law Reviews, and he had kept his eye on them, and he's a really good supporter, I think, and goes along and watches them. Yeah. And he thought the time was right. Maybe there was going to be another DGen, and I got this call, and I thought, I'm being plucked. It
happened.
It's happening. I can feel myself being plucked. And
Vizard's plucking you.
He's plucking me right now. And so we met up, and I think we had a meeting with Steve at his offices, and he talked about, I can't remember, but would have talked about what he thought Australia was ready for, probably sketch-wise.
What was that? What was that like? Walking into the offices of Steve Vizard. This is again for maybe some younger folks not familiar with his work. You mentioned Fast Forward, which was obviously a big smash hit sketch comedy series a long time ago.
I'd argue he bestrode Australia's media landscape like a colossus.
He absolutely did, because following on from Fast Forward, he hosted a
Tonight
Show,
very
the Tonight Live with Steve Vizard for many years. Sort of late 80s into the 90s, the man was inescapable. And he's a big man too.
Yes,
he's a tall fella.
How tall?
Pretty tall.
Yeah.
Okay, I need to know.
Like
my identity.
You-ish.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And and that was all very nice. But again, I will say, I felt like, of course this is what's happening. This is just what happens. You get your opportunity, and this is the opportunity, and here it is. And it feels right. I was confident in a way that I don't or barely recognize in myself. And I was like, I'm going to try and shape this according to what I think is funny. And I'm going to speak up, and be express myself. What I think is good.
What was that?
In this first meeting?
Group.
No,
not in that meeting.
Listen, Steve.
That's right. I sat him down.
Shut up.
I flipped a table. You got to start strong. No, so we went away and we started working on sketches and workshopping things to put together a script for a pilot.
Yeah.
And we revisited some old sketch ideas from the Law Reviews and sort of culled some from the ones that we'd been working in, which caused, I believe, a bit of consternation about some of the cast members who hadn't been plucked, been fortunate enough to be plucked. They got wind of this and they thought there was conveyed to us some. It wasn't Harry. some sort of bitterness and disappointment.
Did you bring back Dick Tease?
Dick Tease did not make the cut. No, I think even by then we'd wised up to Dick Tease. Catchy though it was.
I can see that on TV.
I was living in a warehouse in Brunswick at the time, as you do.
Of course you were.
And so out the back there, we had big space and we had lots of get-togethers where we were meeting and workshopping sketches, doing some improv, I think, writing.
Hang on,
things
were you just
up.
freestyle?
Yeah,
this
who
is just
told you
like
to
for
do
fun?
Well, this is what Steve had asked us to do.
Right.
Oh,
He'd asked us to put
up.
together a script for a pilot.
Yeah.
I'm not explaining myself well.
No.
I'm sorry, you've got me confused. I'm stressed.
Relax, mate. You're not under suspicion at this stage.
At this stage. And we started working on this and got together our pilot script. We went and had a read through at Steve's offices, right, of these sketches. And I had been, as I say, speaking up and showing what I thought was funny and what I thought wasn't funny. And I was sticking up for my own sketches as well. I had a sketch called, that was Unlikely Superhero Pairings, right? That I was quite a big believer in, right? Specifically Designated Driver and the Peer Pressure to Drink Boy were...
That's good.
It's working for me.
Thank you.
Was it just Steve on his own in the office?
No, I mean, he had a couple of other people. Yeah.
I imagine these offices as palatial.
They seem pretty standard to me, not unlike the room we're in right now. Probably it was the first floor.
But it was like this?
There were windows.
It was like...
Very competitive. There was another guy in the group who I was probably a bit jealous of. He was quite a good writer, but he wasn't a performer. I mean, he was a very good writer. Tom.
Okay.
And he, I think he'd been the one who'd printed out the sketches. And
That's a
when
lot
I
of power.
saw the pile, Designated Driver and Peer Pressure to Drink Boy wasn't in the pile. This is the pile we're taking in to Steve for the meeting. So I did bring that up with him afterwards.
He's left laughs on the table.
Why wouldn't you want your best player on the ground? He said it was a mistake or something like that. Could be. And I'm sure he was right.
Hang on. He said it was a mistake. It was that he had intended for it to be in there.
That I think from memory, this is a long time ago, and I don't have a good memory at the best of times. But I think that's what happened. Yeah. So we had, but I think it went well.
Okay.
And then we went away, and I think would have been quite soon after this first read through where we were supposed to go away and do a second draft.
What was the response from the first? Was like before they told you to go away and do another one, what were they like? Amazing, great.
I can't remember at all. But it must have been at least reasonably positive.
So,
yes,
you just to make this make sense for me, you've arrived at this read through you're going to do for Steve Vizard in his offices. You've just been confronted with the fact that your clincher sketch of peer pressure to drink boy,
yes,
has been not included suspiciously.
I will admit that at the time I felt it was suspicious. In retrospect, I have no doubt it was a complete nothing, and I'm embarrassed that I reacted to it at all.
Well, this is what I was going to go on to ask, because this has happened. You go in, you've apparently experienced some sort of blackout because you remember nothing.
Yeah, that's right.
Until you exit.
Yeah.
You don't know what happened in there. All you know is that you've done well enough to go, okay.
Yeah, we're going to go away.
Second draft.
Yeah, we're going to go and do a second draft, right? And then it's a few days later, and I get a call from Ollie. Now, this is who'd asked me to join the group in the first place. By the way, the group, 6 guys, 1 girl.
Oh. Is that traditional within Law Revue?
It is. Absolutely. It is par for the course. I think things have improved slightly since then.
Okay.
And Ollie says, yeah, the other guys don't want to do it anymore.
What?
And I was like, oh. And why? And they said, oh yeah, they just don't want to. And that was it. It was all over.
What happened? Was everyone really sad when you left the Steve Vizard hotel?
I thought we felt pretty good about it. But maybe I'm blinded by, me feeling good about it. And I was in a bit of a selfish phase or something like that. And so I guess there were differences in taste within the group, right? 2 of the guys in the group, and I think the guys that Steve was the most excited to work with, have since gone on and done really well in commercial radio, right? It's not Hamish and Andy. And I think they had different comedy taste to what I had. And I think probably it might have felt to them that like they were the ones who'd started this project. It had come because Steve was excited to work with them. And then maybe by pushing as hard as I did for things that I thought were funny, I'd taken it away from what they felt good about doing. That's my best theory.
Okay. Did it have a name, the group, or is it like?
I'd rather not talk about it.
Mr. Matthews, at this point I have to remind you again, you are under oath.
So
we're going to need.
I couldn't remember the name. And I went back into the Google Drive. By the way, all the sketches are still there in the Google Drive. I don't think anyone's looked at them or edited them, but in my preparation for this interview, I did go back and I looked it up and I couldn't remember the name of the show. I searched for the designated driver. I was like, I remember that sketch.
Yeah.
So I searched that up and then I found that sketch and I was like, what folder's that in? Right, to find the name of the show. So I found the folder that it was in, and I was horrified to learn that the show, at least the working title, was Sketchual Intercourse.
I feel dirty hearing that.
Yeah, imagine how I feel. I mean, as I say, working title, maybe it was ironic. Maybe we were just having fun with it. Maybe we knew that it was a bad title.
You knew it. You knew what was happening.
Is this the reason they split up? Did they realise what they called it?
I think I'm going to black out right now. Sketchual Intercourse.
Sketchual Intercourse.
Oh.
But you weren't troubled. You weren't troubled at the time that it was called Sketchual Intercourse. You were like, whatever. I don't care. Get me in the room with Vizard.
I don't know. I mean, I made a lot of mistakes at that time, and I fought some battles. Maybe I fought the wrong battles. I don't know. Maybe I pitched Sketchual Intercourse, but I don't think I would have, and I'll tell you why. Because when we did the Law Revue, I insisted on it being called Das Comedy with a K as a reference to Karl Marx, and I really wanted all our advertising material to be communist propaganda inspired posters, and that they wouldn't let me do that. But I got the title I wanted, and I just don't think the Das Comedy guy is also the Sketchual Intercourse guy. But maybe not. Maybe not.
That's a pretty good alibi. I'm seeing a connection between this blackout that you had, this disgusting title, and somehow the others, the 6 or 7 others, one girl, apparently all getting together and conferring without you and deciding they didn't want to do it and then letting you know.
I don't know if they all got together.
Well, Ollie was certainly...
Ollie knew, but he might have just been the messenger guy. Like, he was the guy who got me in, and he's the guy who has to sort of finish me off. I want to know the answer as much as you guys.
So then who talked to Vizard's team to be like, we're not coming along anymore? Don't know.
Yeah, some of the other guys. I mean, again, I was brought in, you know, to the group, and I guess, you know, maybe I had a reputation for at least being prolific, you know, and they would need a lot of ideas, and but then maybe they just didn't like the ideas.
We've got too much quality.
No, I don't think that was the problem.
We need more quantity. Get that guy in.
Oh, yeah, sure. Yeah. I mean, maybe that's it. So, hey, sketch shows famously hit and miss, right? They had too many hits. We're getting like, we need a miss guy.
So this was 15 years ago that it happened, that all this went down.
Yeah.
How do you... And
thereabouts, getting up there for sure.
Just talking about it now, how do you feel talking about it? Like,
I feel bad. I feel guilty. I blame myself. I think I had the wrong attitude. I think I was arrogant and self-assured, and in a way that I had no right to be. And I haven't been since. I think I learned my lesson. The guys that probably don't ever think about it. I think about it a lot, and I think I should have approached it differently. I think because I was so excited, I was like, I'm going to make the most of this, and this is my opportunity. I'm going to try and do it my way. But if I'd been a bit more relaxed about it and been like, there will be other opportunities, maybe I could have made more compromises or just been nicer to work with.
But that, like, as far as time of life for things we've had on Pitch Bleak, Sketchual Intercourse.
Formed in 2011, died in 2011.
So it was a very short-lived thing. That's not... It's quite...
It's sort of a comedy stillbirth.
Yes.
Which is almost as bad a title as Sketchual Intercourse.
Oh, that's good.
So...
Still mirth. How about that?
Oh. Now, Chris is writing suspects as we speak. You've placed the blame firmly. That's your own thing.
I mean, that's why I'd love for you guys to find someone else to blame.
I've got a list of names that have come up in the course of this investigation. Peter Cook.
Sure. I mean...
Died long before this ever happened.
Yes.
Unlikely.
Maybe if he'd still been around, he could have, I don't know, guided us.
We've got Harry Dudley Ward here. It's a double-barrel surname, which is always a little bit suspicious.
What's your last contact with Harry Dudley Ward?
I think I bumped into him, maybe 5 or 6 years ago. Yeah.
Oh, your memory's good now, is it?
Yeah. No, I wouldn't say that's good. I had a nice chat.
Okay.
Very nice. Now, this name comes up time and time again. Hayden's certainly pushing this barrow. Ollie.
Yeah.
Ollie, one name, no surname here.
Ollie Waters.
Ollie, as you say, Ollie pulled you in.
Yeah.
Ollie pushed you out.
Yeah.
Ollie seems to be holding all the cards nearly in this situation in terms of...
Yeah, but I think he was just the messenger in both cases.
Right.
And a very nice one.
Okay. No, he's not You're not, no suspicion there for you. No
I
alarm
think he
bells
studies
going
the
off.
ethics of AI now.
Oh,
And
interesting.
nobody who studies the ethics of AI could possibly be evil.
We got to put it out there because it's a big name. Steve Vizard
Yeah.
obviously has the power to make and break little worms like you
Yeah.
at any stage. Do you feel that his maybe lack of enthusiasm at some point, or just not getting behind it enough, had something to do with this not coming together?
Maybe with the read through, maybe the sketches that he saw were just bad or just not what he wanted. And, you know, maybe it was actually his call.
Well, as we've established, you don't remember
Yeah.
the crucial meeting.
Yes.
Where these were read out.
Yeah.
He could have given
It
all
may
sorts
not have
of
happened.
Well, it may not have happened. He may have given all kinds of feedback.
Yeah.
Not enough sketches about gay flight attendants.
Sure.
Possibly.
But that can be fixed, Steve.
Well,
That
yeah.
can be fixed. We can write heaps.
There's space.
Is it possible that Ollie saved you, was like, it will kill Andy to hear Steve Vizard said, don't ever talk to me again. And he's like, it's easier to say that we don't want to do it anymore.
None of your peers like you. Not this guy you've only met once. It's your friends.
I'm going to put it out there. The lack of the Dick Tease song may have doomed this project.
I think we're getting somewhere now.
I think it's got to be considered. Too many girls in the group?
It's woke. It was woke. What done it?
A prime suspect has got to be Tom. Tom, the fella who's printed out the scripts.
I wouldn't have blamed
Just
Tom at
somehow
all if he hadn't wanted to.
conveniently not including the killer sketch of yours, the designated driver and
peer pressure to drink boy.
Yep. I think that's all a little bit too neat to be believable.
I don't think Tom would have been the one making the call, but if he had, I respect his decision.
And finally, the title, working title, final title, Sketchual Intercourse. I've got a working theory that the very existence of this title, once it was conceptualized, even if it was never going to be used,
it was too
as soon as somebody
abhorrent.
conceived of it and wrote it down, it was too horrible to be allowed to live.
Yeah, and God himself probably intervened.
An act of God, a merciful act of God.
His first intervention since the death of Christ.
This is
There was the one thing that called him back.
all the wars, famines, the horrors of humanity for 2,000 years, nothing.
No,
until
non-interventionist. Didn't show a moment of weakness. Didn't bat an eyelid. Children dying. Yeah, all of that. Disease.
That's where I'm landing. I'm going to call this an act of God.
What?
What, you don't believe?
Oh no, it's Ollie.
Ollie acting as the hand of God.
That's it. Yeah. He was a prophet.
Yeah.
He was a messenger.
A soldier.
Yes. Doing God's work. God said to Abraham, kill me a son. God said to Ollie, cancel this development process.
Chris, are you landing at God? Is that are we going to let Andy go?
Look, as far as I'm concerned, the weight of evidence suggests an act of God. I'd say there is insufficient evidence to hold Andy Matthews any further at this point. Okay. Do you concur, Detective Bevis?
I have no evidence on anyone else, and I don't know. I want to alleviate the guilt that you have been thinking about for 10 years plus 15 years.
Mr. Matthews, I'd like to thank you on behalf of the Pitch Bleak unit for assisting us with our inquiries. Our condolences.
Thank you for assisting me. It's actually good to talk about it.
Don't leave town. case we need to contact you.
Sure.
Further
We
information?
might want to catch up for a coffee or something.
No, I don't think so. I don't know. There are some days you just think of packing it all in, going to work in a sandwich shop. Oh, wait, you already do. No options for you then.
Since you told the chief about my moonlighting, I'm down to one shift now. So that's the compromise we've come up with.
Yeah. That's not what I asked for, but
Oh,
never mind.
come to think of it, what
find
did
out.
you ask for?
Well, you're still here, aren't you? So we can just draw a line under today. No further discussions to be had. No little Bevis.
Business idea. Are you ready?
Well, all right. I'll allow it.
Okay. So the business idea, I don't know if you saw in the news recently that a Chinese zoo palmed off dogs as pandas.
Nope.
You didn't see that?
No.
It's quite good. Like they painted dogs and they shaved them and whatnot and said they were pandas.
Okay. Horrifying.
Is that horrifying?
In my imagination, yes, that's pretty bad. But a whimsical story you've seen in the odd spot.
Well,
Online.
yeah, online.
You've been reading viral stories
Yeah.
online again.
Yes.
We've talked about this.
Well, did you know why? Why would I not click on that? Anyway, I clicked on it, and I thought they were like getting in trouble, and I was like, "What if that was the business idea?" And it was just like the zoo. It was just a zoo, and it was like every animal is a dog, but they've just been shaved into other animals. That's the entire zoo.
All
It's
right.
like, come see the otters. And the
Every
otters,
animal is a dog.
yes.
Shaved into other animals.
Yes.
Okay. So are we promoting the zoo as such, or are we
Yeah,
just
we're not gonna
we're going under the radar?
No, we're not
This is
going
a
to
regular
trick
zoo.
people. I don't know. Do you be like? Is it obviously like? Do they?
Well, I'm
is that
assuming
part
that
of the
you'll
shtick?
be so convincing.
No,
that you
I
wouldn't
think
know.
I just think it's meant like they're just cuddly and it's just a bit shit. You're like, oh, look at that dog.
Oh,
And
so
it's
all
like
right,
it's
so
still
we're all in
barking
on
and
it.
stuff, but it's like, but
Okay.
you just like,
Well, I was going to say because it feels like there are many species that it would not be possible to convincingly shave a dog into.
name one.
Every animal larger than a dog. Giraffe. That's all right. I mean, okay, like you're gonna sort of make the neck a bit prominent, thinner.
Okay, so
However,
if I came into the station, I was like, Chris, come with me to the zoo. They've
Yeah.
got dogs shaved into giraffes. Would you be like, no, that's stupid? Or you'd be like,
I'd say impossible.
then would you come to check it? Yes, this is where I'm getting to.
In a purely professional capacity, because there's strong suspicion of a creative crime there.
Shaving dogs into giraffes, man. We gotta like let's
Shave them into. Do you ever shave yourself into any other animals?
I could
Just
this.
a bit, a bit off the side.
Actually, I got my beard trimmed today by someone,
Oh, I can tell.
and it was very ticklish. And I laughed a lot. He laughed a lot. We had a really fun.
Just having a little
I am
little
very-
giggle down at the salon.
Very ticklish around this area.
All right.
Like really ticklish.
Yeah, okay. Do you normally not? You don't?
No, but because I was coming into the cop shop today, I was like, Chris is going to be like, you
About
look
time.
disheveled. And I'm like,
Especially with all that shit going on with the chief. You're on thin ice.
so
I don't mind saying so.
I unsheveled myself today and had a very ticklish time with.
Was it like that?
It was like that.
Imagining the both of you giggling.
Yeah, he
And then
could have stopped
you're
living.
thinking about the dog thing as well. It's setting you off.
Are we going to the dog zoo?
Well, let's go. Let's just your original premise. This is a business idea.
Yeah.
This is not just a funny thing you're thinking of.
Yes.
Is this a genuine?
You've heard of the cat cafe?
Yeah, I've heard of the Cat Cafe.
It's a business.
You think this is the same?
I think it's better. Dog zoo. Come to Dog Zoo.
I think I want to see proof of concept. Okay, I want to see.
You want me to shave?
This time next week, I want a little touring petting zoo, and I want to see dogs as at least 5 different animals. One of them must be a reptile.
Gotcha. Well, fucking stick around, mate.
All right.
None of this bullshit challenge. You challenge me on ideas. I'm coming for you, Chris Kennett.